Hello and welcome back to our BNEWS Election Center. I'm your host, Chris Flaherty. Thank you for joining us today. We are continuing our coverage of election 2022 with our candidate forums, and today with me is Mike Espejo, currently finishing his first term on the Burlington Planning Board and is now seeking a seat on the Select Board. Mike, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Absolutely. So first, just to start out, can you give the candidates a little general background on yourself?
Sure. My name is Mike Espejo, and as you said, I'm on the planning board. Currently in my first term, and I was elected in 2019. I'm a 35 plus year resident of Burlington. Grew up here from nursery school to through high school. Left for college, moved to California for a couple of years, came back. I grew up here, Memorial School, Marshall Simons Middle School, all that, and I have served on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm an elector at my church, St. Margaret's here in Burlington, a former CCD teacher. Currently, I'm on the BCAT Board of Directors. I serve for the Planning Board, I'm an Economic Development Committee liaison to the Planning Board. Also, I am our MAPC rep, which is the Metro Boston Area Planning Commission. I represent Burlington, and Melissa Tentocolis, our Economic Development Director, is our backup, like a secondary alternate rep. So Melissa and I go to the meetings for MAPC.
Awesome. Local boy, just like me.
Yes.
What initially inspired you to run for office in Burlington?
Well, this is an interesting question, and what it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I was frustrated with the state of our country and how partisan we've all become and how divided we all were. And like I posted on my website, instead of posting a million meme march or shaking my fist angrily at the clouds, I thought I'd channel that frustration and into something productive. And I decided to run for town meeting in 2018 because I feel like there's no better way to make a positive impact in your community than to serve in town government. It just impacts so many things our day-to-day lives more than probably any other election. And since then, I've jumped full 2 feet in, and here I am.
Awesome. And just general thoughts on the last 3 years on the planning board. I know you started in 2019, and then the year we don't talk about came right after that. Just your feelings on how you and the planning board handled those 3 years.
Yeah, it was an interesting 3 years. Working from the private sector all my life, I've learned that on the municipal side of things, it takes a long time to get things done. You come in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, hoping that you can change the world on day one. Number one, the planning board, it's very technical, and it took a lot to kind of get ramped up and up to speed with the rest of the board members. It was a lot of watching old meetings, a lot of reading, a lot of zoning reading, which isn't always fun. And I've learned, getting back to my previous point, is that town government is not a motorboat that can switch directions very fast and change directions on a dime like you can do in the private sector. It's more like a steamship that moves very slowly, deliberately through the sea, and it'll get you there, but you have to go through certain procedures and processes to get there. And it's you don't always get the results as quick as you like, but you can get them, and it's always just as rewarding when you get there.
Excellent. Now, you're finishing your first term on the planning board, and now you're hoping to make the leap to the select board. What motivated you to make that leap?
The planning board is actually a 5-year term, so I do have 2 years left. So I am leaving midterm, and that has been a question some people have asked. Being on that economic development subcommittee really opened my eyes to things. As we know, the last 2 years have been the global pandemic has turned all of our worlds upside down.
Yes.
And Burlington has been, just like all communities, hit very hard with the effects of the pandemic. Our way of life has changed, our work patterns have changed, and our restaurants and our hotels and meal tax and all that have suffered. And the revenues coming into the town have suffered. And I think the greatest need right now for the town is to get back on our feet after COVID, kind of get back to a normal way of life. And through my meetings on the Economic Development Subcommittee, I really got interested in trying to get that done, those processes. And I think Melissa Tentoklis, our economic development director, does such a great job in that office. And I really found that exciting. I feel that that type of stuff is a better match for my skill set than the planning board role. Not that the planning board is not as important. I just feel like it's a better match for me, and I can serve the town better on the select board, hopefully.
Now, what you just does that sort of focus into what you hope to accomplish if elected for a first term, like revenues, economic development? Is that sort of like your goals going in?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big pushes we've made on the planning side and the zoning side is to try and reposition the businesses in Burlington with the big push of the life sciences. We're trying to develop a life science cluster here in Burlington.
Right.
Companies are moving out of Boston and Cambridge up here to different communities for cheaper rent, shorter commutes for people. And Burlington's very attractive because of all of our amenities. So I think my number one goal in going to select board is just helping the town get back on our feet after the effects of COVID, and that's a big part of it.
Very nice. I feel like we probably already answered this, but oh wait, no, sorry, skipping around. What knowledge or experience from being on the planning board do you think would be vital to bring to the table if elected to the select board?
I think through my time on the planning board, I've learned how kind of our town government works and the different people and the different committees and who to go to for what and point people. And I've made connections and friends along the way that I can work with that will definitely serve me well if elected to the select board. I've kind of gotten a crash course in town government 101 by jumping right into the planning board without really any experience in town government or town meeting or anything like that.
And we've discussed like you want to help the town get back on the feet with revenue and stuff and recovering from COVID and stuff. I did want to touch on DEI for a little bit because it's a big issue right now in town, and the committee just brought a big update to the select board. What do you see as the next steps for the board of the select board and in a larger scale the community in applying what the DEI committee has brought to the table and sort of threading that in to municipal government in town?
Yeah, I think the DEI initiative is very important and crucial. And I think that's one of the different perspectives I'll bring to the select board is someone who's of a different nationality and can kind of empathize with some of that plight. I was one of the few town officials who openly advocated for the Article 7, the creation of the DEI director position. So it hits home for me strongly that Burlington is a warm, welcoming, open place for everybody. And I believe it is. I believe that the vast majority of citizens of the town do want Burlington to be that warm, welcoming place. As far as your question goes, I applaud and thank the subcommittee for they're taking on a yeoman's task, and I watched the meetings, and they've taken on a lot of work. So thank you to Dr. Addison Reed, Selectman Priest. I know school committee member Carl Foss is on there. I think Patricia O'Brien's on there. And I apologize for anyone else I've forgotten. That I applaud their efforts, and I know that we've got a long way to go, and there are a lot of steps we have to take, and there are ambitious goals coming from the subcommittee. I feel like we have to kind of break that down into smaller, more digestible chunks and figure out what we can do right away and what are things we have to work on and what are things that maybe are long shots. I think that following up with that committee, one of the things I will press as soon as, if elected, is that we get them back in front of us and kind of work out a game plan and kind of, instead of kind of talking at each other, to each other. Because I think we're not going to get anything done on this front if we don't stop and listen to each other and communicate and kind of see where each side is coming from. I mean, the select board has their policies and procedures that they have to follow, and the DI subcommittee has their goals and desires. And we have to find where we can meet and get it done together. And I think it can be done. It'll take a lot of work. And I look forward to working with Dr. Addison Reed and the rest of the committee and to get those initiatives done. I'm excited for it.
Excellent. Very well said. We've talked a little bit about economic development in town. The landscape of the retail and the consumer business has been changing so much over the past few years, not just because of COVID, but just general consumer and retail behaviors. How do you see we keep Burlington attractive to all types of businesses, or how do we keep adapting with this constantly changing landscape for retail?
I think, well, we have a flagship mall, one of the most successful malls that in Simon's portfolio, and that's a big plus. And I think that our location is very attractive for a lot of companies and people to live. But we can't live on those things alone. We have to continue to develop a strong community, strong amenities, strong public participation in all levels, from things like events on the common, that make great community feel that people want to come and see. And again, taking advantage of our great recreation department, Parks and Recreation Department, who have a program, that's second to none. And we have to continue to be a strong, well-rounded community on all aspects, to continue to be an attractive place for businesses to come to, stay in, and even further to attract the life science businesses like we want to.
Yeah, I'm glad because you brought up life sciences. That was my next question, because the planning department the last few years has worked really hard to make Burlington a hub for life sciences. On the select board, how do you see your role how do you see your role as a select board member supporting this development to make Burlington a hub for life sciences?
Yeah, so the goal has been, in 2019, we achieved platinum status for life sciences, which is the highest rating a community can achieve. And what I can do, if elected to the select board, is support the initiatives of the planning board and some of the rezoning that they want to do to make, convert spaces that were initially zoned for just office space, make them zoned for life science compatibility. Also, I'd like to work hand in hand with the Board of Health to make sure that any company we bring in to the town, it's safe, that we're not having any unnecessary risk to anyone going to a store or anyone's home or anything. Another important thing that the select board can do is make sure that our town services are up to snuff for all these businesses coming in. I know we have a water issue that we're working on. We're in the process of connecting to the MWRA, as everyone knows.
Yes.
We have the PFAS treatment facility, which will be online this year. So to continue to make sure that our town services and all across the board, police, fire, DPW, can support all of these businesses in the community, and just make sure that we are have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed and ready to go to move forward out of this pandemic.
Excellent. Well, Mike, we're approaching the end of our agenda, but I just wanted to give you a chance to speak to the voters. And just as a wrap-up question, what do you hope to accomplish if elected to the select board? What are your goals for this first term?
Yeah, as stated, I do want to just help continue the community to get out of the pandemic. I also think we have a real need for a new police station. I had an opportunity to sit with Chief Brown before he left for his conference in Virginia, and he gave me a tour of the police station, and I had no idea. I heard that it was antiquated and not up to snuff, but I had no idea the condition of that building. And he took me through and gave me a comprehensive tour, and that is something that I feel strongly that we need to get the men and women of our police force a facility that's is worthy of their professionalism. And I think that's something that I'd like to see, that I be part of the effort to get the ball rolling in my first term on the select board.
And I'm glad you brought up the police department, because that is a big project on the deck for a town meeting, as well as developments of a potential new Fox Hill Elementary and a Burlington High School. How do you see all these different projects sort of panning out? Like, what's the balance? What's the priority?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I think, we need a new Fox Hill. The high school here needs upgrades in the HVAC and lab departments. And also, we've got to look at Pine Glen. So there are a lot of challenges ahead of us. And I hope to be part of the solution and part of the group that helps move Burlington through these capital questions and to get them all rolling and us to upgrade the facilities that need to be upgraded.
Very nice. Well, Mike, that's all I had for you. Thank you very much for coming in, and good luck on the campaign trail.
Thanks, and I did want to say to the voters that I'd like to thank you for entrusting me to serve on the planning board for the last 3 years. It's been an honor, and I love this town, and I love serving the town, and I hope to continue doing that in a new role and capacity, and I'm respectfully asking for one of your 2 votes on April 9th for the select board. So thank you, Chris, and thank you, BCAT, and thank you for everyone for watching.
Awesome. Thank you again, Mike, for coming in. And folks, thank you for watching. Stay tuned. The BNEWS election coverage will continue in the days and weeks leading up to Election Day on April 9th, 2021. Is that the right date?
2022, yes.
2020. Did I say 2021?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, on that note, I've been your host, Chris Flaherty. Until next time, have a good night.